within Krishna, what is ultimately sweetest about him, his own internal sweetness, is expressed outward and personified as her. So, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktirazmad. Sometimes they're together as one, sometimes separated as two. But we're told inseparable in the sense of like the sun, heat and light. The sun, you can't separate the light aspect or the heat aspect from it. They're inseparable. So, somewhat inconceivable. But the Swarup Damodar is helping us in this way, saying, sometimes Radha and Krishna are combined as one. Then other times, they're separated into two, and they have pastimes in that way. And Krishna is ecstasy personified. Rasaraj, Radharani is Mahabhav, the one who can, you say, is the highest emotional extracting capacity on Krishna. There's a famous sloka in the general Vedic understanding, where, what does it say? Is that like, I think like a pundit looks, enriched with learning, looks beautiful. It gives different examples. One of which is, it said, a woman married in the presence of her husband, she's even more beautiful. So it's something like that they're independent beauty, but being that they are inseparable, in the presence of one another, they're at their most beautiful, but that is not a static position. It's a competition of beauty. So we're told, as Bilva Mangal gives in his Karnamritam, Maduram, Maduram, Madurasya Vibho, Vadanam, Maduram, Madhugandim Ridu Smitame Tadaho, Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. He's saying, how sweet, 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 sweet is Krishna. So Krishna looks very beautiful and sweet. He's saying, but when you look at him, he looks so beautiful and sweet, but if you look at his face, somehow even more sweet. Saying, but if there's a smile on that face, the smile is even sweeter than the sweetness of the face. Sweet, 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 sweet. But that Krishna, when the gopis see the sweet smile of Krishna's face, they who are inconceivably beautiful, they become more beautiful. Krishna, seeing their increased beauty, his beauty increases. And this way, there's a competition of beauty. So it leaves the realm of what is conceivable by us in our present position. One of the indicators that we have vibrant, vital, alive Krishna conception is that if by the grace of our Guru Varga some glimpse comes to us, it will be fresh and new. Sometimes we read a pastime of Krishna, and maybe we have some appreciation by their grace for that. Say, and you read it a year ago or 3 years ago. And then you might think, oh, I would like to read that again. I remember the last time when I heard that, read that, approached that, how beautiful and wonderful it was. But then you read it again, and it's different. It's beautiful, but it's somehow different than it was that other time. And that happens again and again and again. So I remember Krishna appearing so beautiful. But then you look and see again, well, now he looks so beautiful. It's different than that time, similar, but somehow more beautiful than I remembered. That's why Guru Maharaj quotes Radharani. Well, it's in the Madhya Lila, in the critical chapter, the Madhya 2, where Kaviraj Goswami is saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this book, so let me tell you now here the most essential things you need to understand about Mahaprabhu's pastimes, and if I live, I'll expand upon them. So Madhya 2 is very important. Gurudev would sometimes sing the whole chapter by heart. There, it's mentioned, Radharani saying that the last time I saw Krishna, I was, what would you say the word, became disabled because overwhelmed by the beauty, charm, and sweetness of Krishna, I could not contain my ecstasy nor my awakened loving sentiments. And before I realized it, he vanished. So, and it's quoting the Jagannath Balavanattak of Ramananda. She's saying, so my strategy for the future is, I realize the problem with this is the time factor. So I will have all the paraphernalia ready, and the asan, the arati paraphernalia, everything necessary to worship time. So when that time comes, I will see time on a throne, garland time, perform some arati, offer different things. And once time is propitiated, then I'll turn my attention to Krishna. That gives us a hint. In our position, direct contact with Krishna yields little substance. In the case of actual exalted devotees, the most indirect contact yields the highest substance. So if Srimati Radharani sees a tree, a tamal tree, maybe a very deep Krishna connection. We hear about the Vedic science of auspicious and inauspicious signs. Like if you're going traveling, if someone goes by carrying empty buckets, inauspicious. If those buckets are full of something, auspicious. And there are many other things. So we're told, they indicate, oh, now is a good time to travel? Oh, no, not to travel. When we were with Mr. Shao, Avadut Maharaj and I in Puri, and we were at some place and we were about to go do something, and someone sneezed. And Mr. Shao said, we have to wait. You know. And one writer, Bengali writer, Bharati Mukherjee, she writes stories of Indians who have immigrated to America and what that experience is like. So you have the two men in the morning, like kiss their wives goodbye, go outside, get in the car to go to work. One's an Indian, one's American. And the Indian guy sneezes. And he's sitting in the car and he's thinking, how can I possibly tell Bob, you know, my next door neighbor, that I have to go back inside the house and start my trip again because of the sneezing is inauspicious for travel. So instead he just gives, oh, forgot my keys. Because there's just no point in trying to explain that to him. He'll think, you're a crazy Hindu, or whatever. Right? So that's the humor. But what's interesting, Chakrabarti Thakur will say, this science, we can trace this science back to Srimati Radharani herself. But she observes all of these different signs as indicative of whether or not meeting is it's favorable to meet with Krishna. That's the value of these signs. So, Guru Maharaj will say, when it comes to interpretation or how we see anything, it depends on where we take our stand. So if we take a stand in the Nirguna plane, which is where Sukadev begins from, then we'll see things from a certain perspective. And there's gradation and everywhere and everything. So if we go deep into the Nirguna plane, that means the objective world, subjective world, super subjective world, and the super subjective world means Goloka, the Aprakrita Lila of Krishna, where everything is perfect and will be interpreted in terms of the absolute, highest interest of the Supreme Absolute. As Guru Maharaj said, how to show Subal and Sridham ready to fulfill the inner desires of Krishna. There's that plane. Then here, in this world, basically we're operating in terms of what the intermediate position, Madhyam Adhikari, distinguishing, well, this is good, that's not good, this is desirable, that's undesirable. Some discrimination is being applied. But from a higher perspective, everything's moving perfectly, according to the sweet will, or the will of the sweet Absolute. Guru Maharaj is saying, we have to prepare to surrender ourselves to a whimsical Lord. In this world, we don't want to be subject to someone's whims. But when you're dealing with the Absolute, why the hesitation? He's the absolute, ultimate and absolute good. His whims are for the eternal benefit of everyone and everything.